All right, everyone. Welcome to episode 4, Predict the Pros. Tonight's going to be a little bit of a braggy night since we did so fantastically well. I'm Joshua Hilton, your host, and with me here is Kevin Kamir.
I go by Street Bowl. That's my league name. But yeah, my name's Kevin. What's up, guys?
And as we'll do a little promo thing here. Not only can you follow along with us and make your own predictions at trackingthepros.com/predict, you can actually, if you're on the North American server and you want to get better at League of Legends, you can sign up for our brand new newbie tournaments where you're going to get separated into teams and you're going to work with a coach for a week. And then at the end of that week, you're going to play a best of 3 against another team. And Street Bowl is actually going to be one of the coaches there. So if you want to do that, it'll be a ton of fun. I'm sure you'll learn a lot. There will be training throughout the week, and you'll get to practice in a team environment and hopefully get a lot better.
Yeah, very very excited about that. I think it's a lot of fun, and it's great practice to get practice in a team environment as opposed to solo queue, because the way I coach solo queue versus the way I coach teams is very different. So even if you've played with me before, been coached maybe before, I think that learning in a team environment is always something new and fun, and also it's great because of course LCS is just getting the finals right now. Everybody's hyped up, ready to play some best of series. So head on over to leaguecoaching.gg and sign up for that.
So yeah, hope to see you there. All right, so with that done, let's just jump right into it. The semifinal results, man, we did good. We did really good.
Yeah, not bad. I think that we were aided by the fact that it was a little bit more of a calm week this time. There wasn't any TSM clutch series or anything like that. So it's a little bit easier job for us this past week in predicting. But yeah, that's why it was fun, of course, to do the actual numbers behind it, the actual how many games they'd win, because we both agreed on every single pick. So and we actually agreed on a lot of the numbers as well. Actually, only EU we disagreed on.
Yep. Yeah, it was interesting with EU. We kind of split them up, and so for the G2 splice, you were expecting a much closer. I was expecting a complete stomp. I mean, though it is funny, the casters brought up the thing where G2, it's like they almost always somehow end up going 3-1, like they never get the clean sweep. And so I probably should, if I had known that, maybe I would. No, I would have changed. I was expecting a stomp. Though I mean, honestly, it feels like it was pretty clean on G2's side. Like,
yeah.
They came to win. They're definitely in playoffs mode, I would say.
Yeah, it was mostly G2 deciding who won and lost. I'm just going to recheck my notes here real quick, but I believe that, my notes for Game 1, which is the game that Splice won, were basically that G2 got the lead and then just did nothing in mid-game, and then Splice did a really good job of just stalling and then engaging better around the Baron fights, and their team comp was a little bit better for late game as well. So I think it was a combination of team comp. G2 just didn't really keep the pressure up, didn't really know how to force their lead during the mid-game, and then Splice is a team that's a little bit similar to Clutch in the aspect of, like, if you do something and it's not clean, they will punish you for it and they'll take the game from you, but if you don't give them a chance, they're not going to take it from you. So I think that's kind of why we saw in the series it was mostly G2 winning reasonably. I don't want to say easily, but like they were in control of most of the games. And then when we saw them kind of slip up a bit, it was because G2 was slipping up, I feel, as opposed to Splice really doing anything to kind of force mistakes out of them. They're just very good at capitalizing once a team does make mistakes. And G2, as we've seen, is kind of known to have its ups and downs. They play really well sometimes, and then sometimes you're like, what are they doing? And that's where Splice can capitalize. So that's why I thought for sure Splice was going to take at least one game, because I felt like G2 was just going to slip up. Splice is a team that can punish them for that. But I kind of cheated on my predictions where I said I'm going to pick 3-2, but I feel like if G2 wins, it's going to be 3-1. The reason I picked 3-2 is just in case Splice pulled off some upset, I could say it was close. And I kind of did the same thing with the 100 Thieves Clutch series and stuff. But as you can see, I was one off on the G2 if we go to my actual prediction, and I was exact with the other one with my actual prediction. So we'll just leave it the way it is and say that I was right once and wrong once.
Yep.
Close enough.
Close enough.
Same difference if you math it out.
And then Basically, just the reverse though with Fnatic and Vitality.
Mm.
I thought it was going to be a lot closer, and you thought it was going to be the Stomp. Yeah, So how similar would you say that G2 and Fnatic played? Would you say they both played similar, or were you seeing differences?
I think that Fnatic had the harder series. I feel like Vitality's the harder team to play against than Splice. So I feel like what we saw, it's like, yeah, they look about the same. But if you kind of take into account what they were having to go up against, I feel like Fnatic showed, or they had a stronger showing this past weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like Vitality is much harder to deal with than Splice. I feel like Vitality has a lot of pop-off potential, specifically in places like the mid lane. And I think that it takes somebody, or it takes multiple people. It takes people the caliber of Caps and Broxa to keep someone like Jizuke contained, because he can just straight carry games, and that's a big part of Vitality's kind of strategy and their win conditions. Is like Jizuke has to control mid, and he has to get pressure from that control of mid, and it's very hard to do that when you're playing against Caps and Broxa.
Yep.
So I think that Fnatic made Vitality look not as strong as they are. I think Vitality is actually a pretty strong team. They've actually been impressing me over the past few weeks. I think they're not great, but I think that they have a lot of good players, and they play really well sometimes. So I think Fnatic had the harder series, and I think Fnatic is a much cleaner team than G2.
All right. Well, we'll get into the predictions next week after we're done gloating over our awesome insights. So, moving into North America, so we got exact for both games. Yeah, I feel like we knocked this pretty well. The one thing that probably could have talked a little bit more that would have made us seem like true geniuses was maybe, and we glazed over it a little bit, but like just how important Huni is to Echo Fox. Because the game they won, it was literally just him dragging them along, I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, really, we've known since day one. It's one of those things where the roster with Huni, you're like, ooh, these guys are pretty decent. Like, this is a pretty good roster. Without Huni, you're like, oh, this is like a bottom tier team. Like, oh, this is not good. What are we gonna do? But I really feel like Huni, exactly like you said, I mean, he's such a good player that he basically turns any roster into a viable roster. And then when you put him along the sides of people like Dardoch, who actually is a really good player, if given the chance to kind of show that, he's had ups and downs, of course, but he's shown that he can pop off like crazy. So I think you put the two of them together there, and that's a potent duo. But split them apart and give Dardoch some just random top laner. You know what I mean? Like if you, and that's, I'm just randomly picking a name, but like you throw Licorice in top lane with Dardoch there, it's not going to be the same as with Huni. Not to throw shots at Licorice, because I think he's a very good top laner, but it's one of those things where you need that play potential. And I think that someone like Huni, you build a team around him.
Yep.
And I think that without him there, Echo Fox is a shell of what we've seen this season. But yeah, like you said, I think that Huni played very well in the game that they did win. I do think, though, and it's difficult for me because when I'm watching all of these games now, because we're making predictions now, I'm watching every game, and it's so hard for me not to watch from the perspective of the team that I'm thinking would win. Like I'm like coaching their team, so it's so hard for me not to be like, Echo Fox played well, and not be like, Team Liquid screwed up, like they're so dumb, they should have disengaged that. Like it's so hard for me to disengage from coach mode and be like, observer, like just let's look at both teams. So yeah, so like my notes for the game that they lost were like they landed the hook and Team Liquid turned. All they had to do was disengage. Like they got baited by a hook. Just disengage from that hook and you win.
You don't have to follow every single one.
Yeah, so it's difficult for me, even though I do agree that like Huni is really, really good, and he is definitely a huge reason why they did win that one game. It's hard for me to look back and be like, yeah, that was all Huni. In my memory, it's like, no, Team Liquid just screwed up. They just threw the game. But I don't know how accurate that is. I think I have a kind of a biased memory potentially. But yeah, long story short, Huni's very good.
Yeah. And just, I guess as a little sidetrack, I assume that Huni's going to stick with Echo Fox, that his contract's going to go.
I would imagine at least for summer. For summer.
And that like, so he's not going to like try and get off or get out of it, and Echo Fox obviously isn't going to try and get rid of him. Like, I feel like that really is showcasing how big of an impact you can have just bringing in someone who absolutely dominates even just one lane.
Well, yes, but that's also like Hooney. It's basically just like, yeah, you know what would make your team really good? Just get Michael Jordan, and then he would like make the team pretty good. It's
So-
like, yeah, absolutely.
So
Sorry.
but what I'm saying, like, so I think, like, yeah, they really do need to kind of strengthen things, and like, there's been, you know, a bunch of talk, especially about their bot lane. But what one player would you pull from to start off? It has to be North America. What one
Yeah.
player would you pull onto Echo Fox that you think would shore up all of that?
Are we allowed to poach, or are we?
You are allowed to poach.
Okay.
Because I assume this is gonna be another. We're just gonna go out and throw, you know, $500,000
well, this is-
at a player for a single.
I was just
split.
about to say this is the thing is like we need lots and lots of money.
Yes.
But my immediate first thought was Afromu. Put Afromu in bot lane, and Altec will look like a god.
Mhm.
Phoenix won't have to
Mhm.
carry. Dardoch and Hooney are already fine. Afromu ties everything together. He shores up the bottom lane. He makes everything okay, and it makes it so that Dardoch can actually potentially play around bottom lane if they need to, because that's one of those things, and that's what Reckless talked about when Hooney was on Fnatic years ago, and they made it to semifinals, I believe, in Worlds. I believe it was semifinals. And he was talking about how he never had to carry games. Hooney would always do it for him, basically. So he never learned how to like put the team on his back and
Yeah.
finish off a game and just do everything himself. So once he started playing against these top-level Korean teams at Worlds, they shut down Hooney, and now it's like, well, Reckless, if we're going to win, you have to carry, and he never learned how to do that. So I feel like that's always going to be the potential downfall to a team like Echo Fox. So they have a very top-heavy
Yeah.
roster. But that's, of course, the give and take. If you're going to spend all your money on Hooney and the import slots and stuff, then you're going to have a weak bot lane. That's just kind of the way it is. So if we're playing where money's not an option and we can take all players and stuff like that, what one player? I really feel like Afro would kind of make everything work. Because I feel like Phoenix is a serviceable player. I feel like Altec, if you put him with a good support, he's totally fine. I feel like Altec's kind of like, and I haven't been watching him that closely, but I feel like he's a little similar to like Apollo, kind of, where it's like he's not a bad player by any means. He's not like the best player in the world, but put him with a good support and he'll carry games for you. He's not bad by any means. So I think that would put a lot less pressure on Hooney to carry, and that in turn would allow him to carry even harder because he's not getting just crushed. I mean, he's not, or at least, for example, like one of the strategies that a lot of teams did when playing against Echo Fox is ignore Hooney and focus the bot lane. Like, just don't let him play the game. Don't get involved with him. Where I feel like if they do that and they've got a little bit more strength around the bot side and Dardoch can maybe play around there and leave Hooney alone, then Hooney can just 1v1 and everybody can actually defend themselves around the bot side rather than having to lose bot and hopefully Hooney wins top hard enough to carry.
Yeah.
You can actually survive bot.
See, I was actually going to say, either sneaky or double lift, but just because double lift you would bring a little bit more of that aggressiveness and really cause the bottom lane to be more of a threat, and sneaky would be great because then you just have a much more consistent carry threat who's always there, so that you have to spend more focus and time and be ready to go after them. But if they ever do shift and try and shut down Hooney, you have someone else ready to go. But I think I changed my mind and I agree with you. I think Afromu would actually be the right pick.
I feel like it's easier to like just throw an AD carry in there than it is to throw a support in there. You know what I mean? I'm an AD carry main, so I'm the first one to admit that AD carry is just like if you have a support to tell you what to do, all you have to do is just be able to click, and that's like originally what double lift was basically. And Chowster has said that before. He's like, my description of double lift is he's a person who knows how to click very accurately, very fast. Yes. That is what double lift is, and it's like, yeah, that's all you need to do. If you have someone to say, hey, go over here. I'm going to go ward, don't die, play safe, just farm these minions. I'll be back in 20 seconds. It'll be good. We'll do this. I'm going to engage in 5 seconds. I'm going to flash. You flash too. Like, if you have someone telling you that, it's no problem. And I feel like someone like Afromu can turn Altec into something like that, where I feel like with double lift or sneaky, it'd be a little harder for the AD carry to actually make that happen for the support. Even though Adrian's a serviceable support, I feel like he doesn't have that like straight just carry potential. Where Afromu would be just like, yo, I don't care who's my AD carry, just get on my back. We're going to do this. We'll make it happen. But of those two AD carries you mentioned, I think sneaky would be the better option because I feel like sneaky is more for lack of a better word, like malleable. Like he can fit in different spots better. Yes. Where I feel like double lift is a little bit more rigid.
Yes.
And on a team with Dardoch and Hooney, and potentially even like Phoenix is a little bit more kind of like solo carry sort of guy as well. I feel like that's a little bit too much individuality on a team, if that makes sense. I feel like Sneaky would kind of glue everybody together a little bit better. But that's why I initially went right to the support role, because I'm thinking like, what's going to glue the team together? And usually support is one of the big things, because support can influence the entire map, where AD carry oftentimes you're stuck in lane. So like even if your AD carry is the best shot caller in the world, you can't influence the game that much until you get to team phase, where support's doing like tandem warding with junglers, like constant roams and stuff like that. It just was one of those things where I feel like in pro play, it's more important to have a really competent support than just to have a really competent AD carry. I say this every week, but I'm like, AD carry, all you gotta do is just not die and kill minions, attack people, take turrets, just stand in the back and don't die. Where support has much higher of a skill ceiling, I feel, and you can do nothing as a support, and you can do everything as a support.
I like to hear that as a support main.
Yeah. It's one of those things. You play some games and you're like, whoa, I just carried a support. That was awesome. And you do some games where like I was just literally like a walking ward. That's all I was. I did nothing. That's why support and jungle are, I feel, the two roles that have the kind of lowest floor and the highest ceiling. You could do nothing to help your team, and you could straight up 1v9 the game for your team.
Yeah. All right. So, and then our last game, and obviously 5 games, so most exciting, but just like so evenly matched. And honestly, like this was a setup where I was really thinking it would. It was so weird because after Clutch Gaming's performance, I was like, should I just be thinking they're going to win it all? And you were talking about this too, and then I was like, no, I still feel like 100 Thieves is going to do better, but it's probably going to be close. And maybe Clutch is just they've got the upset factor. And then I was watching these games, and they both just seemed so close skill level wise that as the last game was about to happen, I was like, okay, if 100 Thieves wins, then okay, at least I got my prediction right. But I don't think they're going to be able to beat Team Liquid. If Clutch Gaming wins this 5th game, I'm just going to become a believer and say Clutch is going to win it all.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's why I think this series was so close, is because it's the same thing but in reverse, where like Clutch kept like proving that they are a good team, and I kept doubting them. And same thing with 100 Thieves, where like they kept winning games and I kept doubting them. So now I'm like, okay, well, which one of these teams has to prove they're good? And that's why I thought it would be so even, because I'm like, they're really both pretty darn good teams. And it's a matter of, is Clutch Gaming just like TSM's kryptonite, or are they just a really good team?
Yeah.
And I think it's a little combination of both. But I was really impressed with 100 Thieves macro overall. But sorry, just to jump back, like what you were saying, the roles and how they match up, that's actually what really pushed me over to the edge and made me pick 3-2, is because I'm kind of comparing the roles, and I'm like, it's pretty evenly matched everywhere. And that's why I mentioned last week, I was like, maybe like the only thing I can really see, like maybe someday can style on solo, maybe, but solo played really well in the past week. So I was like, I don't know, all of those positions match up. Like every role there can pop off on either side. So it was a super close back and forth series. But yeah, I think that I have my notes here for each game. So the first game, it was 100 Thieves won. It went back and forth, of course, but Someday played amazing that game, and that was the first game where I was like, oh man, Someday's going to carry this series. Like he's on another level right now. Meteos was playing great as always, and Ryu, who was forced onto Ori, I think it was really smart for Clutch Gaming to ban mids. That was one of the things I'm really worried about with Ryu. Not that he doesn't have a deep champ pool, but he's much more effective on things like Ryze, Taliyah, and like Ori is kind of like his number 4 basically. So I was a little worried about that, and I was glad that they got him. And then you saw the next game, Clutch was like, oh, you like Ori? Okay, Forbidden, you're playing Ori this time. So I really like that, because Ryu's Ori ults were on point in the first game, played really well. And then the second, it wasn't the second game, I think it was the third game that they did the Ori, because Forbidden had Azir the second game, because my note for that was basically Forbidden's Azir ult at the Baron fight just single-handedly won them the game. And that's what I was talking about last week. I'm like, Forbidden impresses me in team fights so much. I can't think of another player who consistently in team fights is like, oh, you just won your team the fight. Oh, you just won your team the fight. Oh, you're Ori ult, you're Azir ult. Like you keep winning your team the fight. Where it's like, oh, they're gonna lose this. 100 Thieves got this. There's a turn. There's an Ori ult. There's a turn. There's an Azir ult. There's a turn. Forbidden is phenomenal in team fights. He is so freaking good in team fights that single-handedly won them the game. Game 3, Lyra flash ulted Aframu, Skarner onto Braum. That's not a good idea. So Lyra basically threw the game there. And then game 4, carried it to make up for it.
Mm-hmm.
And shouts out to Apollo and Hakuho, the offensive line of that game, the underappreciated guys of surviving and dealing with the pressure to allow there to be top pressure and basically just like absorb all of 100 Thieves pressure in bot lane there, just survive as best you can and allow your top side of the map to actually carry the game for you. So shouts out to Apollo and Hakuho for game 4. And then game 5, Forbidden again stole Baron. So it's just like Forbidden is like, if they don't have Forbidden, Clutch Gaming is not good. They're not a good team if they don't have Forbidden. And I think that's partly why like people kept talking about, they're like, oh, this is like 3 of the 5 members of this roster were like from Envies, who was like a 10th, I think they came last place in their season or split or whatever, one at least.
Yeah.
They did not do well in one of them regardless. And they're like, that's 3 of those 5 players, and now they're like a top tier team. And it's like, yeah, Lyra's good, Apollo's good, Hakuho's good, Solo's pretty darn good. Forbidden ties everything together. Without Forbidden, this team is not good. Lyra carried the game 4, but game 2 and the only reason they were in game 5 is Forbidden. Forbidden is incredible in team fights, so good. But 100 Thieves macro is what really impressed me. Game 5 was basically just like a giant demonstration of how to get side lanes pushing and then group and wait for that pressure to amass and then let it get free objectives. Because both teams, it's game 5, they're both just so nervous about throwing the game.
Yes.
So you could tell there were situations where normally they just send someone to bot lane or whatever to deal with the wave because they're like, well, it should be okay. We should be able to get through. But they're like, we can't take that chance because if they take this Baron, the series is over. So there were several times where like giant waves would just slowly take turrets, which of course is not what you want, but that's what happens in a tight game like that. So 100 Thieves slightly better than Clutch at that late game macro of getting the waves going.
I would say maybe even a little bit better than slightly better, but that Clutch was making up for it because they had Ezreal. And he kept using his ult to.
I was just about to say, yeah,
yep,
that made up for a lot.
In the game.
And that's the thing is actually my initial note was like 100 Thieves macro is just better, like Clutch is going to lose because of this in game 5. But yeah, Ezreal, I mean, of course, is a huge part of that. That definitely is like a nice little cheat button.
Yes.
But yeah, I was actually there was a couple points where Clutch actually got the better push on 100 Thieves, and they were the ones then now jockeying for position and having the waves push onto 100 Thieves, and they lost a couple turrets as well. So I initially was like, well, 100 Thieves is just better at this, but Clutch actually got a decent amount of time where, and like I said, a big part of it was because of the Ezreal ults, but I was actually impressed that they did actually get some time and get back. I thought they were just not going to get anything, but yeah. So props to Clutch Gaming. They did actually. It proved to me that they know what to do. Yep. It's just they're a couple steps behind of 100 Thieves and actually executing it, which is what impresses me so much about 100 Thieves is their team play. Like, and I don't know if that's all Aphromoo and he's just telling everybody where to go, but they seem very good at knowing where to go. And I think a part of it is also because every single person on the team could theoretically shot call. I mean, maybe I don't know enough about Cody's son, but maybe drop Cody off. But like Ryu, Meteos, Someday, Aphromoo, all 4 of those players know how the game works. And I mean, obviously, like you wouldn't want like Someday shot calling because his English isn't the best, but all of them know what to do, and that's the best team. Is a team where everybody can shot call, but you have one person doing it. So when he makes the calls, everybody else already knows what the call is, and they're just getting confirmation.
Yes.
So Someday's already 2 steps down to bottom lane to go clear whatever it is, and I feel like that extra couple seconds that you have being 2 steps ahead of your opponent like that really makes up a lot, especially when it gets down to those kind of nitty-gritty Baron back and forths at like 40 minutes, because it was like 20 minutes of just Baron stalling. So at that point, that's what makes the difference in the game, is who gets there a second early, and TP management and all that kind of stuff. And I really think 100 Thieves did very well in that, and I was very impressed by that. But
they did well. Like that 5th game though, it definitely I feel like it threw into focus the difference between good teams and great teams. I felt like neither team really showed themselves to be a great team in that you have to be, when you get into those kind of situations, and yes, I understand a lot of it has to do with the pressure of game 5, who's going to move on to the finals and all this, but like when that pressure hits, you still have to go in there and make that clean, decisive call. And I felt like I just saw too much waffling, and like, you think back to, C9 at the top of their game, TSM at the top of their game, the top Korean teams, like, that game would have been over so much faster. Like, even if they'd been put in the exact same position, they would have done very similar things to start off with, but then
very slight opportunity, instead of like trying to push for an incremental advantage, they would have just committed full force and gone with it. So, but I mean, I think that's something that can be fixed, especially 100 Thieves. Like you said, I mean, yeah, they definitely have the macro and the game sense. And I mean, especially if everyone is thinking in the same mindset, like as you say, you know, they all have the good game sense, and if their game sense is all kind of aligned and like the way they play the game is all aligned, then yeah. So like you have the one person saying what everyone's already thinking. I mean, that's hard to beat. That kind of synergy is going to take you far. I think they just need to get a little bit more of that killer edge, especially when under pressure.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think both teams were exactly like you said. They weren't playing for the win. They were trying not to lose, which is very understandable in a 60-minute game 5.
I mean, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no, like, exactly. It's one of those things where it's so hard to just be like, all right, guys, when it's like the most pressure we've ever had, we're gonna play exactly the same. It's so hard to do that. But I definitely agree with you. I think that that's exactly what teams that win Worlds play like.
Yes.
And I think that they're playing like teams that win NA, which, as we've said before in previous shows or whatever you want to call this, that win NA first and then worry about winning Worlds, which I think is exactly what teams like Team Liquid are doing, and I think that's why they're looking pretty decent right now, is because they're just keeping it simple, and I think that's what 100 Thieves is doing as well. I think that's one of the things that, and I know nothing about the coaching behind the scenes about this stuff, but I feel like that's one of the things that Prawley is good at, is understanding like, hey, let's not do anything too crazy. Let's stick more to what we know. Let's just do what we know and do it really, really well, as opposed to like forcing his players to do something. I feel like he's much more of a cohesion sort of coach. Like, you guys all know how to play the game. I'm just going to make you be able to play the game together. Which I think is difficult to do with all those veterans on a roster. So I think that they're like you said, doing well right now. But if right now we're all going to Worlds, they're going to have some issues, of course.
Which, though, is why getting first is so incredibly important to be able to go play at MSI, because you know, what's a better way to practice for Worlds than going and basically playing the mini Worlds at MSI with like all of that international pressure? Like, and again, like, so important. Like, if NA screws up, and like especially if one of the play-in teams, we'll talk about the setup a little bit later in the show. Like, if one of the play-in teams beats North America and we don't even make it into the next group, like, guys, I don't want to lose our second spot. Like, there's a real potential that we could have only our first place team in the buys, and the other two have to play through the play-in stage. Like, I mean, I guess it's good practice, but like,
it's one of those things where it's, if we deserve to be there, we should be able to get through. But it definitely is one of those things where it's like, really? Like, why can't? I thought we were like a real region.
But I mean, if they, I thought we were real.
I thought we were real. But no, we're like demoted to wild card.
But I would hold great hope that, I feel like, and so this is moving ahead a little bit, but like, I feel like Liquid, and this is primarily due to Double It, I feel like they have a little bit more of that killer edge. They'll be ready to go than 100 Thieves, but I feel like 100 Thieves could definitely develop it, and MSI would be perfect for them to do that.
Yeah, I think both teams would perform well. I think both teams are just full of veterans, so it's like, I feel like they're not even gonna care about MSI. You know what I mean? They're just gonna be like, yep, another game, another tournament. Let's just play. Like, it's not gonna phase them or shake them at all. And yeah, I think both teams would do well. I think that Liquid would probably do better, maybe. I have a little bit more faith in that roster. I feel like they're playing a bit tighter, especially when it comes to mid game. I feel like Liquid has more of a kind of like we were talking about. They're more proactive almost. Not to say that 100 Thieves isn't proactive,
right?
But they definitely are willing to let the game kind of unfold. Yeah, they're a much slower paced team. I feel, where Liquid is like, if we can get the lead early, we're gonna go, and then even if they get behind, they still try and always bring it back in mid game. Where I feel like 100 Thieves is like, they play like more what I talk about, like more of a stabilization style. Like, we're behind, let's stabilize, and then we'll come back. Where Liquid's like, screw that, let's just come back. Let's just go. Let's just come back. Where 100 Thieves is like, no, we have better macro late game. Like, let's just take it to late game. It'll be fine. We'll play better around the Barons, which I think 100 Thieves is really good around. Is playing around Barons, really good. But Team Liquid is even better, I think. I think that's what I've been so impressed by Team Liquid's like mid game macro recently, that I think that they they're a little notch above 100 Thieves for me right now.
So our last prediction that we had talked about, it's a nice little off the cuff over under support bands.
Oh yeah.
So I said the over under at 3.5. We both took over, and I'm gonna give myself a little bit more credit because I said I fully expected to go over on the first game, and then things are gonna change up based on how things go. But that it absolutely was going to go over on the first game. And
I'm going to say that I thought we were only talking about the first game, and that's why I said over.
Okay.
I'm going to use that as my little out. I misunderstood.
Yep. So game 1, we had 4 support bands, and I saw that, I was like, yes, victory. And then game 2 won. Yeah. I was like, okay, well, But so yeah, it was very interesting. With game 3 and game 5 had 3 as well, and then game 4 had 0.
I believe
crazy.
It's based on the sides. I believe that's what it is, if I'm not mistaken. Because 100 Thieves was second pick in 2 and 4, I believe. Yeah, and we're first. Yeah, so they were blue side in 1, 3, 5. So yeah, so they banned tons in there and then and left it open otherwise. So yeah, it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because it was close if we just didn't count those other games. But yeah, I think we both said that it would be one of those things where they're either going to ban a lot or they're going to ban none. So we kind of got it right because it's like either 4 or 1, 3 or 0. So it's not bad. We did okay.
Yep.
We did all right. I'm trying to make this better on ourselves.
And I mean, honestly, it really is like especially when you're talking about predictions like that. Like, I mean, I'm not gonna say it's easy, but like it does feel straightforward to kind of talk through how, because everyone's going to come in with a set strategy for game 1, but then after that, it's like in war, no strategy survives contact with the enemy, and so you hit the enemy. And so now you're both having to try and react to each other, and so things go crazy. So I'm chalking that up as a win for us.
Yeah, I think this is the first question that you sprung up just on the thing. So I did no research for this whatsoever. So that's what I'm putting that on. If I do research for stuff, I know what's up. But without my research, I'm useless. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'm useless. I'm terrible under pressure.
No, you've gathered all the information, and it's just there in the background of your brain, and you just have to pull it out without thinking about it. Just,
That's why I was like, oh crap, what did both teams ban last games? Like, oh man, what were they playing? I was just like, I remember Thresh was important. I'm pretty sure they'll ban Thresh. That's at least 1, I think. I don't know. And they didn't ban Thresh for 2 of the 3 games there. No Thresh ban. And no pick either.
Well, talking about picks though, I meant to do a slide where it was just this in big letters, but no Swain.
Yeah.
Banned every time.
Yeah, which is hilarious because in EU they left it open and it actually lost for the first time. It was like had like a 15-0 record, and now it's 15-1. I think it was Vitality who actually beat them, which is hilarious. But yeah, a lot of my notes for some of these games is like, stop letting Swain through. Stop, just stop it. Stop doing that. Please stop doing that.
And it was interesting though because they changed it around. Let's see, which one was it I was looking at specifically? I think it was Game 5, and I think it was something else with for 100 Thieves and Clutch. They banned Swain, but neither Rakan or Xayah was banned.
Yeah, which is funny because we kind of talked about that, and then I think they did pick it during the series, didn't they? It's a different series I'm thinking of. No, they did. In Game 4. In Game 4 they picked it. Right.
And we
were thinking about that. We're like, why aren't people picking Xayah Rakan when they don't ban it? Because we talked about before how they kept banning Rakan from Hakuho, which we were like, if you're going to ban Xayah Rakan, why are you banning Rakan and not the Xayah? And then it's like, well, if you left both open, why aren't they just playing that then? Because I thought that was still busted even after the slight nerf. But yeah, we saw it in Game 4.
Yep. Though I do feel like that was partly because it was so weird. But so Olaf gained a lot of importance, in just like in general in their picks, especially because I felt like both junglers were performing really well on it, which was so funny though because when I was watching the EU games, I feel like he constantly got trashed whenever there was a Trundle on the other team. But it might have just been kind of a wider skill difference, I feel like, for the European games, and so it was a lot easier for them to just quickly isolate the Olaf and just burn them down using Trundle. So
yeah. But yeah, I think so. Because I'm just looking back and trying to see what teams were actually picking that matchup that were dealing with the Trundle into Olaf. But yeah, because it's one of those things where it's like a soft counter or whatever, but you can still win with the Olaf. But definitely the Olaf falls off a little bit, so you don't get the early lead going. It's a little bit more difficult to deal with. But yeah, I'm really not sure about that. Yeah, game 5, we got the CG Olaf. Sorry, I'm just going through my notes and looking at all the picks and bans right now. There's so many picks and bans over the weekend that I get all these series mixed up.
Oh yeah, I always just keep up old esports to go back through with their match history and everything.
Yeah, so, without the notes, I'd be lost.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess that's enough patting ourselves on the back. We actually already have some interesting predictions coming in through chat. So again, reminder to everyone watching, before the games actually start, you need to go to trackingthepros.com/predict and actually put your predictions in there so that when your predictions come true, you get to go back and point and say, hey, I said this beforehand. I'm a genius.
Yep. Put them in, guys.
Put them in.
Put them in. That's much more fun when there's more people and everybody's going, oh, what did that guy pick?
Absolutely.
Oh, that guy got that game right. I can't believe that guy picked them. He's crazy.
Yes. I am really disappointed that no one picked the upset, even just out of spite against TSM. I'm a little upset at that myself. That I didn't pick the spite upset. But so
it's one of those things. We need the odds. We need it to actually be like real gambling with odds, and then I maybe would have bet on clutch. But when it's just straight one like this, it's like, no. Why would you ever bet against TSM in that situation? Mathematically, it's incorrect to do that.
TSM is going to lose. Okay, then. Here's my $1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so I have a feeling we're probably going to end up with the same matchups, and so I actually, here on my other screen, I have my notes ready to go, so I don't have to go back and rewatch the show from start to finish on 2x speed just to make sure I wrote down our predictions correctly. So, Europe, Splyce and Vitality, what's your call?
I'm going with Vitality here. I talked a little bit about it before, how I'm saying Vitality I think is just stronger than Splyce.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And I'm still bitter about the final week of the regular season where I picked Splyce to beat Vitality and Vitality beat Splyce. I'm still bitter with Splyce about that. I'm like, I trusted you guys. I thought you were good. What happened? But yeah, like I said about the European games last week, I feel like Fnatic and Vitality was a higher caliber series, so I feel like that's why Vitality didn't look as strong. And you see like Splyce in the G2 series, and you're like, yeah, they look about the same as Vitality, they look relatively similar. Yeah. But I feel like Vitality, when they don't have Jiizuke getting shut down so hard, they show so much more as a team, and I feel like it's going to be difficult for Nisqy to shut down Jiizuke. Okay. I feel like Nisqy is kind of the weak point in Splyce. Not that he's a bad player by any means, but he doesn't have that same just like, I'm going to carry the game sort of thing that Jiizuke has. Jiizuke just feels like he just I'm just going to, where like Nisqy's like, I'm just going to, that sort of thing. So I feel like if you don't have that to match Jiizuke, he's going to push and he's going to punish and he's going to roam. And if you give him Ryze or Taliyah, it's going to be a sad day potentially. So I have Vitality beating Splyce 3-2. I think it's going to be a close series because Vitality by no means is a clean team. But Splyce has just disappointed me recently, and I think Vitality is really strong early, and they actually impressed me at improving around Baron. I believe they actually got a good Baron take and like won a fight and then took Baron and like played well around it and like defended it and pushed people away while they were taking it. So I was like, oh, they fixed it. Like they proved that they can do something right. So I have more faith in Vitality now than I did before, and I have the exact same little amount of faith in Splyce that I did from before after they burned me in the final week. So Splyce is a good team. Vitality is better.
And sorry, what did you say? Did you say 3-2?
3-2. I think it might be 3-1. I'm doing 3-2 because I have little. Basically, this is like a series of little faith. I have little faith in Vitality, but I have less faith in Splyce. So we'll go 3-2.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, so I'm actually. I can't even say exactly why because you've just laid out so many good points. But I'm gonna stay with Splice, and this might be just a little bit of a contrarian pick, but I'm also gonna say 3-2. So I think it should be an interesting series, and hopefully we'll get a fun, not a 70, 80-minute game. 5 though, please.
No, I don't think it will be. I think that Vitality plays too aggressive, and it'll either be like I really feel like it's up to Vitality to decide this series. Either they're going to play well and win, or they're going to play poorly and throw. It's not going to be like Splice winning games. It's going to be just like, yep, Splice is consistently here, and Vitality is sometimes here, sometimes here.
Gotcha. All right. So, G2 and Fnatic.
Yeah, so with this one, I have Fnatic winning 3-1 over G2. I think G2 has stepped it up recently. I cannot tell you how impressed I am with Caps and Broxah.
Mm-hmm.
They are so good that no one stands a chance. Like, if you're like, who are you going to pick to go up against Caps and Broxah? We're like, Jankos and Perkz? That's not a bad team. That's a pretty decent pick. I still think they're going to beat them. I still think that Caps and Broxah are just dominating right now. Rekkles isn't even having to do anything. He just sits in bot lane and just waits for the game to end. Like, before I had started watching EU, all I'd heard about is how good Rekkles is, and he's just destroying the season. So I'm like, oh, Rekkles is carrying Fnatic. And then after I started watching the games, it's like, yeah, Rekkles is good. He's never bad, but like Caps and Broxah are just 2v5ing every game. Like they're just dominating, and I really feel like that was a huge reason why Vitality didn't look very good in that series. Is Vitality plays so much around Jizuke's pressure in mid, and when you're against Caps and Broxah, there's no pressure. Mm-hmm. It's not even remotely close to the same. And I feel like Fnatic will just play a cleaner series than G2. Fnatic is just a cleaner team. Even with Bwipo in the top lane, he's pretty decent. He's more than serviceable. He had some decent ults and stuff last game. I think he's fine. Maybe that'll be like when it gets to game 5 and he like cracks under pressure and you're like, where's Soaz? But right now I feel like Fnatic's bot lane is way better than G2's bot lane. I feel like their mid and jungler are just the best in the league, hands down. I feel like Fnatic's going to take it 3-1.
Gotcha. We've got someone in chat saying, insisting that G2 is going to win 3-2, but he hasn't put in a prediction yet, though, because Fnatic is still sitting at 100% on the website. So someone needs to hurry up and create an account and get put in the prediction.
And then you can make fun of us after next week when we're wrong and you're right and you called the upset, because it could easily happen. It very well could happen.
Yeah.
Because I really feel like Fnatic is a very clean team. They haven't shown me otherwise, but that doesn't mean I'm like, yeah, no, they're fine.
G2 is going to bring in a different level of competition, I feel like, than they've had so far. So,
yes, they're a step up from Vitality. I definitely agree. I feel like they're just like a better Vitality, pretty much. Like they're the same in that they have like high highs and low lows, but I feel like their highs are a little bit higher and their lows are both the same, I guess.
Okay. Well, I'm still going with Fnatic to win, but I'm gonna put it at a 3-2.
Yeah, I can see that happening. Yeah, I've been just so impressed with Fnatic since I've been watching them. They're just such a clean, like it really feels like their games are just so like easy almost. Like even when they do stuff that seems dangerous, it doesn't seem dangerous with them for some reason. You know what I mean? Really? Like they'll 50-50 a Baron, and it's like, oh yeah, they got this. It's like, why do I feel that way? I don't know why I feel that way, but it's just like they haven't shown me that they make detrimental mistakes. Any mistakes they do make, it's like it's okay. They'll figure it out. It's not. I never see anything where I'm like, what are you doing? And that's the problem. I think with every other team, I've seen something where I literally go, what are you doing? Why are you what is in your head right now that you're doing this? Where Fnatic, I don't see that from anybody. I see misplays every once in a while, but never anything where I'm like, who's steering this ship? Like, I never ask that question. That makes me feel very comfortable about Fnatic. So I say 3-1, could be 3-2, but I wouldn't be surprised if G2 takes a game. They're good players, but Fnatic is a cleaner team overall.
Okay. All right. So North America. Echo Fox and Clutch. I have Clutch. I'm still not exactly sure what I'm going to say game-wise prediction, so I'm going to let you talk about that first.
I'm not sure either.
Well then, so let me talk through this. So I almost feel like when you match up the teams on paper that Echo Fox is still a better team. But the way Clutch has been playing in the playoffs and showing their skill in the best of 5, that they're going to do better. And also, I just don't want to bet against them anymore.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I feel like they've been coming up with the strategies. That's gonna they're just performing well with the +5. And chat saying 3-2. Yeah, I think because well, let's see. Echo Fox did only pull out one win against Liquid. Well, yeah, okay, no, that makes sense. And so if Clutch is a slightly worse team than Liquid, then Echo Fox could get a second game. But I don't think Echo Fox will actually end up winning. Man, this might be a really good weekend.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna go with that, chat. I'll do 3-2 for Clutch.
Yeah. I'm deciding between 3-2 and 3-1 for Clutch. I definitely think that not definitely, but I think that like Clutch is most likely going to win. They're a better team than Echo Fox. Echo Fox has some very individually skilled players, but Clutch is a better team. And I think that if Echo Fox doesn't snowball games immediately, Clutch will win. So I'm really tempted to say 3-1 because I really honestly feel like Echo Fox is going to get ahead in one game and then just finish it, and they're also going to get ahead in another game, but Clutch is just going to stall the game and come back, and it might be 3-1.
Ooh, okay. I'm writing those down.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 3-2. I feel like Echo Fox just has too much pop-off potential. They could just turn it on one game randomly and just win. They just have the ability to just flip a switch and win.
Yeah.
But I feel like Clutch will win the series. It's a matter of whether Echo Fox will get 1 or 2 games. Yeah.
Cool.
Because I feel like Solo is good enough to manage Huni. I don't feel like Huni's going to style on him. I feel like Huni's going to be winning the lane, but I feel like he's going to do well enough to hold and make it so that the rest of Clutch can kind of pull through and stuff. Solo is extremely good at absorbing pressure. Mm-hmm. That is one of the things he's best at. And I think if you're dealing with Huni, you got to absorb pressure because you're probably not going to just beat him. So let's play defensive. Let's just soak stuff. Let's just survive. Just lose slowly, and then our team can pull it out later. Because Echo Fox has not shown me that they're a good team once it actually gets into full team play. In like skirmishes and like 2v2s and 3v3s and stuff like that, they're pretty good. But once it gets to full 5v5 team play and rotating around the map and stuff like that, I have much more faith in Clutch, not only in their rotations, but in their team fighting play as well.
So, Liquid and 100 Thieves.
Liquid is most likely going to win.
Yeah.
But 100 Thieves could pull it off. I've been more impressed with Liquid than I have with 100 Thieves. But I have been impressed with 100 Thieves over the past, 4, 5, 6 weeks maybe. So it's kind of hard. It's one of those things where, I keep going, they're not that good. They're good. They're not that good. And they're just like, well, they win again. They're good. They're not that good. Well, they win again. But I feel like Liquid has really just turned it on. Like I say, I keep saying their macro in mid and late game is incredible. It's really, really impressed me, specifically in mid game. I think that 100 Thieves is probably the only team that actually has the shot calling and macro to rival Liquid. So I'm really interested to see that kind of dance of who's going to get the better positioning in team fights, who's going to get better vision around Baron, all that type of stuff. I think this series is going to be really close, and I'm really hesitant to pick either 3-1 or 3-2 on this. I'm probably going to go with 3-2, I think. By the end of my little paragraph here, I'll make the final decision, but I think 3-2. Both teams play pretty slow early, so I think that almost favors 100 Thieves because they want to just get to that point in the game. They want to just get by early game if they can't just do well early. Because they do well early sometimes. I'm not saying that they just wait until late game every game, but they definitely play slower than other teams. And I feel like Liquid turns things on a bit quicker than 100 Thieves. So it could be interesting to see if 100 Thieves is taking too long to really get everything prepared, and Liquid is able to kind of just be a couple minutes ahead of them in terms of the aggression. But it could also be that Liquid is way too aggressive and 100 Thieves absorbs that and pushes back. I'm really excited to see. I think both teams are very good at playing offensive and defensive, which is one of the things that I don't think some of these other teams are. I feel like Clutch is a defensive team. Echo Fox is an offensive team. I feel like Team Liquid and 100 Thieves are offensive teams that can also play defensive. Or actually, no, sorry. Yeah. No, sorry. Let me say this again. I think Team Liquid is an offensive team that can play defensive, and I think 100 Thieves is a defensive team that can play offense.
Yes.
There we go. Sorry.
Yeah. There you go.
There you go. I'm trying to get that out.
And that's a pretty good description. I have Liquid winning. And yeah, I almost want to be like, I don't think it's going to be a 3-2 for Liquid winning. If it's a 3-2, I think it's 100 Thieves winning. But what I expect to happen is Liquid wins 3-1. Wait, what did you say?
I said 3-2. I agree exactly with what you're saying, though.
Yeah.
I think if 100 Thieves wins, it's going to be 3-2. I think if Liquid wins, it's going to be 3-1. But that's why I'm doing my stupid hedging of bets that I like to do and calling it 3-2 in case 100 Thieves wins. I knew it was going to be close. If Liquid wins, I was like, yeah, it was just one off. I knew they were going to. I called 3-1. So 3-2 is my little hedging bets. But I still have to pick a team, so I have to go with Liquid. Because I think that if you play this series out 100 times, Liquid will win just like 55, maybe like 60. Yeah. No, let's say 50. Let's say 55.
I feel like they've. Oh, sorry, chat. The slides are static. They're not pulling directly from the website. I had to do them beforehand. But yes, I do see your upset called over Fnatic. So that has been updated. Good job. I'm proud of you. Unless you are correct, and then I will have to give you a shout out or something in the next stream. I don't know. Maybe we'll have our first guest call in and let him brag.
It's got insider information.
Insider information. But yeah, I think 100 Thieves, especially like with the chance to prepare, like it feels like they've done. I don't know. It just feels like they have so much research and just so much prep done on everybody, and that it's just. They don't always execute quite as cleanly as they potentially could have, like actually in game, but their prep in general, I feel like, is fantastic and spot on. And so they might be able to exploit, because Team Liquid, this is something you've been talking about, a little bit one-dimensional almost, maybe. Like they're playing, they're like you said, they're playing to win North America. They've gotten their one strategy and kind of set on. So if 100 Thieves can exploit that a little bit, I could definitely see it swinging the other way. But I mean, yeah, when it comes down to actually making the prediction, I think I'm going to go with Team Liquid 3-1.
Yeah, I think that's a good pick. I really feel like Team Liquid's the stronger team overall, but I feel like this series is going to be super close. I feel like it's really going to be back and forth, and it's going to be Team Liquid's toughest test. And we'll see, because it'll be whoever pulls out that win deserves to win North America, because they really kind of proved their way through. I think there's been some other seasons where it's just like, oh well, obviously one team's going to win. Like even if this other team wins, like they don't even deserve it. All that kind of stuff. I feel like this is a good season.
That I appreciate that so much for this season. Like, it's been great. Like I always hate when there's. Except when it's Cloud9, obviously. But it's so annoying when there's like such an obvious kind of crowned winner, and like, come on, give me a little bit more interest. And that's why that Clutch Gaming and TSM series. I was like, my pain level. It went from 9-ish to about a 2. Dropped pretty far.
Yeah. Cloud9 really, nothing went wrong in comparison with TSM there. But yeah, it's so cool to see 4 teams that you're like, you know what I mean? 3 years ago, if you said, who's in the finals, or who's in the third place game? Echo Fox and Clutch Gaming. Who's in the finals? Liquid and 100 Thieves. You're like, what game are we playing? What is this? Yep. Is this like some new Overwatch league or something? Like, what is this? What teams are these? But yeah, it's so cool because we know that there's going to be a new banner raised, which is, I talked about this I think in the first episode, where I'm like, you look at the banners and it's like TSM, Cloud9, TSM, CLG, TSM, and it's just like, get something else. I don't care what it is, something else. I don't care if it's Optic or Golden Guardians. Get something else up there. We've seen those 3 teams too much, and I love those teams. Those teams are great, and they're like the kind of the old guard of NA and stuff like that. But It's like, you know what, franchising, new blood. let's get one of these new teams. And not that Team Liquid is exactly a new team, but they haven't won. They always come in fourth or even worse than that. So I'm happy for them. They finally turned it around with their oodles and oodles of cash.
now they just need to throw $500,000 at Aftermoon and they're all set.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wait, no, sorry, you said Liquid, not Equifax.
Yeah,
but
I was gonna say, because then they literally, other than Impact, they legitimately have old CLG. They already have 3 of 5 old CLG.
Yeah.
Like they're already,
which is kind of like,
Which is partially why I like Team Liquid now more, is because it's like, oh, those are like the good old days of CLG, like Golden Age, those days.
Though, isn't Liquid? Aren't they the ones with like the crazy support setup? Like with the, are they the ones with the big practice?
Yeah.
Setup and everything.
Yeah. Yep, they're the team with the money. The money team, Steve. Steve and his money.
Got that Disney money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
all right.
There's some crazy state of the art setup in some office.
So, MSI. First things. With the new setup, so North America and EU both get into the group stage. And so 6 teams in the group stage do the double round robin, and then top 4 teams go in to play a single elimination and with the best of 5s. Really, so if NA doesn't make it to that, it's going to be rough, because that means that one of the play-ins has made it, right? So
yeah, and that's the thing, is I don't know enough about this right now. I have no idea who all the play-ins are. I haven't been watching any other.
It's huge. It's 14 regions.
I was gonna say, that's the thing, is like, when you have so many different smaller regions to pick from, it's like you could probably find 2 good teams.
Mm-hmm.
You could probably find 2 teams that can actually compete with NA and EU reasonably well. So it's like, we might be in some trouble potentially, but
especially in just a double round robin, like that's nothing.
It's a short amount of games, no series. Yeah, there's a lot of potential for upset. I do think though that Team Liquid or 100 Thieves would do reasonably well. I actually am confident in both those teams as far as international play. Not extremely confident, not like they're going to win or anything, but they're not going to embarrass themselves. And that's really what I'm always looking for, is like, that's anytime someone's like, how do you think NA is going to do at Worlds? I'm like, the answer is, are they going to embarrass themselves or not? It's not whether they're going to win or not. You know what I mean? So I feel like both of those teams won't embarrass themselves. So once I kind of see more of the competition, I maybe will give them a nod over some teams. But right now, I'd say they can probably squeeze in like 4th or 3rd, maybe, potentially, maybe. But yeah, we'll see. I think that Fnatic will do decently, because I'm assuming Fnatic's going to win. EU there. I think all 3 of those teams, I think EU with Fnatic has a decent shot, and I think that 100 Thieves and Team Liquid are both decent teams. I mean, obviously, like, they're not going to, because I'm assuming Kingzone is going to be from the LCK, like, they're not going to beat Kingzone, for sure. 100% they're not going to beat them. But they could put up a half-decent fight. You know what I mean? It could be like a semi-competitive game for about 20 minutes, and then they just lose at 25 minutes, which is not the worst thing in the world. So I'm expecting not good results, but I'm not expecting bad results. I think it'll be okay. I think we'll all be able to leave and just go, yeah, that happened. That was a thing. Okay, next thing. Let's keep going. But I don't think it's going to be, everyone's going to be going, no, we're lost. We're the worst region ever. Or we're either going to be like, I really feel like this is basically just like Rift Rivals again. It's like, are we going to beat EU or not? That's basically what
and so at the end of the day, who's going to do better at MSI, NA or EU?
I have to go with EU, just because
Fnatic fanboy.
Fnatic, it just looks like a good team. All these other like Liquid is really the only team where I'm like, ooh, that's a good team, but they still haven't like secured my faith, if that makes any sense. It's one of those things where it's like, Fnatic has secured my faith. Like they've never let me down. They've never done, like I said, they've never done anything where I'm like, what are you doing? And I've seen that from every other team. So I've always had this like that drop of fear in the back of my mind. Like, are they just going to start inting? Are they just going to randomly start inting? And I don't have that fear with Fnatic. So I feel like Fnatic, I have more faith in them. But that's not to say by any means that 100 Thieves or Team Liquid couldn't just like crush Fnatic. They might just get in there and stomp them. But it's just like I said, Broxa and Caps are incredible. Incredible. And then you've got Reckless, who doesn't have to do anything as like the backup, like your insurance policy. Like if Caps and Broxa
is Reckless. That's
yeah, like if they for whatever reason have an off game, like just stall for late and Reckless will carry you. Like it's like, so how can they lose? You know what I mean? That's kind of the way that I feel. It's like I feel like they play too clean. They have too many ways to win. It would really take a colossal mess up from Fnatic and really good play from another team, which not to say that can't happen. Yeah. I just feel like it's less likely to happen than the other way around.
So
unfortunately,
I'm betraying if G2 made it in for
then I'm going NA all the way.
NA, okay.
I don't trust G2 at all. They're really good sometimes and they're really bad sometimes. So really I'm so scared. Yep. Yeah, I'm so scared of that team.
Okay. I think I'm really tempted to go and agree with you.
It's hard not to.
It's hard not to. It's hard not to.
They're so good.
Yeah, like if I could have just seen like a slightly rougher game from Fnatic, maybe. But
yeah, because I'm trying to let me go back here because what they lost.
It's so hard.
Which game did they lose to Vitality? They lost because. Oh right. So so Vitality just played really well around the Baron. And Fnatic, like I keep saying this, like every team that I pick to win, I keep watching this series from their perspective, and every game they lose, I'm like, well, the other team didn't beat them, they just screwed up. So my notes are like, well, Fnatic just got greedy and wanted to rush the end, but they should have just played slow and they would have won no problem, which I don't even know now if it's true or if there's just bias from me or whatever, I don't know. So in my notes in my head, I'm like, yeah, no, Fnatic just lost because they made a small mistake. They're not going to make that small mistake. And also,
maybe you just have a blind spot.
And that's what I'm saying. That's why I know. I'm like, the more I talk about it, the more I'm like, oh my god, am I just like in my own head? Am I just like in my own little bubble right now? But I still feel like I feel like that's because Vitality's a good team.
Yeah.
I feel like that's why. I feel like that's what makes sense to me. Is like Vitality's good, and that's why they took a game off Fnatic, and that's why Fnatic's going to lose at least one game, I think, to G2, because G2 is pretty good, and they'll take at least one game, but they're not better. And that's the way I feel about Liquid, 100 Thieves versus Fnatic. They're good. They're really good. They're very, very close. Fnatic's a little better. And I feel like in the problem is because we're playing one game, like there's no best of 5. In a best of 5, I'm like, yeah, Fnatic's gonna take it 3-1, whatever. But I'm like, oh yeah, no, NA could easily, like I said, they could easily just crush Fnatic. They could just stomp them. I have no idea what's gonna happen. But if I have to put my last dollar on it, it's going to Fnatic.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Man, I'm still torn because I feel like I want to, region pride and everything, but honestly, I mean, the more we've been doing this, I feel like I've been getting a little bit more, being able to be a little more, impartial, except when it comes to Cloud9, obviously. I'm always just gonna be a sucker for them. But yeah, you know what? Okay, yeah, I think I'll agree with you. As long as Fnatic wins, I think EU will do better. If they don't, yes, I think they will lose to whichever team goes for North America.
I also really like betting on people that I don't like, because then when they lose, I'm like, oh, I don't care, I lost the bet because the person I wanted to win won.
Win-win situation for you.
Yeah, when the person I like loses, I'm like, whatever. At least I bet on the right person. I love doing that. I always do that. So then whatever happens, you win. Like I said, I like to hedge my bets a lot. I like to not lose more than I like to win.
Mm-hmm. Nice. I mean, it's hard to argue with.
Yeah, it's you can see it in my play style as well.
Yeah. All right, so we talked a little bit about that. We've got our predictions locked in. Chat has put their predictions in as well, which I appreciate. Unless we have to have a guest caller in for, I will drop from the top to gloat about his upset prediction. Do we have any questions from chat? Anything you guys would be interested to hear our opinion on, or are we going to call it an early night? Give you guys a minute or two to get caught up with the stream delay. But Man, it was a good set of games.
Yeah.
It was fun times watching it, especially I mean, we've said it before, but like, I just hope I want at least another series on par with the Clutch Gaming and 100 Thieves, and I'll be happy about that.
Yeah, that was yeah, yeah. I really that was so much fun watching. There were so many times where I would forget to take notes, and I'd catch myself watching. I was like, I haven't taken notes in the past 10 minutes. Like, oh crap, what just happened? I forgot. Oh no. But yeah, I thought that was so much fun. I have a giant like I made a little like picture around it basically I wrote Forbidden Steel's Baron and just like did a bunch of stars all around it, so I remembered to see that because I'm like, that's like, this guy's insane. And also, one of the things is I wanted to point out that in that game, it was even gold at 59 minutes. So an hour into the game, it's even gold in that, which is just absolutely absurd. It's completely insane. And the Cloud Drake was taken at 61 minutes. It was a 61-minute Cloud Drake.
Oh yeah, that's right. That was ridiculous.
Because nobody took Dragon.
And that was, I feel like, just another example.
They were like, so scared. They were so scared.
They just couldn't.
Because if you go to Dragon, Baron's gone. So fuck Dragon, man. But, Cloud Drake, who cares? It's Baron. They're so scared.
You're like 35, 40 minutes in, though. Send one person, and the four of you can like delay Baron long enough. I mean, come on.
And that's the thing, and that's why if this is game one of the series, Cloud Drake can't last until 61 minutes. And like we said, they're also not going to lose. Like, each team lost, I think, 2 turrets to purely minions. Yeah. Like, that's not going to happen if it's game one, because each team's going to be like, no, I'm not going to lose my turrets. Let's go defend that. Actually, and then we'll deal with Baron.
I feel like one of them lost an inhibitor, right? To minions?
I think at least an inhib turret, yeah, if not the inhibitor. Like, it was.
I know there was. They both lost an inhib turret
in bot lane. Yeah, in bot lane, it was just they were just minions back and forth. It was crazy. But it's one of those things where if I'm shot calling for a team, I'm doing exactly the same thing, because I'm like, we can't make the mistake, and I'd rather bet on us just playing safe and slowly losing and wait for a mistake from them than for us to try and make something happen and then have us cost the game. Which a lot of people are the reverse of that. A lot of people are like, I want my destiny in my own hands. I want to make the play, and then if I fail, I failed. But for me, at least in that series, there was a decent amount of kind of throws back and forth. People were getting caught out and stuff like that. There was a lot of picks. So I feel like overall, when you're in that moment there, they made the right decision of just playing slow and allowing things to happen and then playing off those things that happen, as opposed to trying to force something. Because if you force something and make a misstep, the entire series is gone. And I feel like both teams are very, like I said, defensive teams. They're not there to flip the switch and flip the coin and Echo Fox it and see, hopefully this goes well, and if it doesn't, then we lose and whatever, next game. They're like, no, if we're going to lose, it's going to be because you guys beat us. You earned the win from us, which is my style of play, at least, which is good in some scenarios and bad in others.
So, we're not really seeing questions from chat, just a little bit of trolling. I assume that Lucian comment is aimed at my boys in blue, so I'm going to ignore it.
Oh, the licorice top?
It
was one game. It was one game.
One game.
It was one game. He's a rookie of the split. He played well.
Yeah, Rift Rivals is actually a lot later. At first I was like, oh, maybe Rift Rivals is before MSI. Maybe that's why MSI is so far away. Nope. We just have like a month of nothing. Unless the other regions are going a little bit slower.
Oh yeah, maybe they're taking longer to finish off the seasons or something. Yeah, that would make sense, because I think that the seasons don't all end at the same time. So there's probably they're probably gonna. I wouldn't be surprised if they do have at least like 2 weeks though before the.
Yeah,
we're just downtime.
Yeah, with like the travel and everything. I mean, it is an international tournament, so. But with that does mean the Twitch channel, Trying the Pros, as soon as we get the teams into Europe, as soon as Reddit finds the accounts that all the games are playing, all the teams are playing on, we'll put them in there and they'll get priority on the stream, and so we'll get to spectate. Won't be quite as crazy as Worlds, but it should still be pretty fun. watch them play some solo queue, especially if they get over here quick. Which would that'll be interesting. I don't know, like, I mean, because with Worlds, everybody always goes to Korea to practice some, and then they go to the region where it's taking place. I don't know if they're going to do that with Rift Rivals, though.
I doubt it. I think that it's one of those things where actually no, you know what? I actually have no idea because potentially teams would not be playing. So who would you have to scrim? You might have to go to different places because people like teams wouldn't be scrimming actively. You know what I mean? It'd be like vacation for some people.
Entirely possible. Yeah.
So yes, I'm not actually sure how they would do that.
Yep.
I'm sure they must have something set up where they can get some good scrim time in.
Yeah. I mean that would be, obviously my preference because then we get to watch everybody there in the same region. But
yeah, that's always
fun. With Worlds this year taking place in Korea, World Stream is going to be fantastic. We're going to get it started in like late August or whenever. We're going to have like a month and a half of solo queue gloriousness. It's going to be great. All right.
They should just have Worlds in Korea every year.
I know, especially if they like, that's the thing I was always kind of curious, like, was it just the Korean Riot group that put on such a great show, or was it just like a specific group in Riot that takes care of Worlds, period, and they just happened to put on an amazing show that year? Because, I mean, everyone compares it to that year for a reason. Like,
yeah, I feel like it must have something to do with Korea because Korea's just had esports for so long that they just know how to put on a show. They just know more about. I don't know, and I feel like I feel like there's more of. They just kind of understand more about, like, they appreciate that culture more than, I don't know. I feel like I can't think of a way to explain this, but I feel like the West doesn't. We're like, hey, it's like sports. It's like sports, but with a computer, right? Yeah. Where they're like, no, this is like, it's different. It's similar but different.
Yes.
And it's got its own unique sort of thing, and I feel like they do a better job of finding that niche. Because I feel like in NA in particular, and in EU as well, it's very just like, yeah, it's the same thing as sports.
Copy it, yeah. They put their own spin. It's kind of like, it almost feels like they build in like esports' own kind of traditions and making it its own thing. Yeah.
Which I think is easier to do in that culture, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so we'll take one question here from chat before we go off, and it's a bit of a sensitive subject. And it would have been awesome to have Weldon to talk about this because I'm sure he'd have some really good insight. So asking what do we think about Doublelift, especially with his mindset going into this weekend. So Steve said that he was going to be playing, and that he has, obviously the full support of the organization. So I'm sure he's been talking with people. But I mean, and this, obviously I haven't talked with Doublelift, haven't talked with other people who know him well, but my sense of him is that I do know some people that have been through something, obviously not the same because that was a really rough situation, but similar type of situations with like the grief and everything. And I know there are several kinds of people that would rather have something just to throw all their energy into it. It's like, it's not even necessarily taking your mind off of it, like, because it's still going to be there, you're still going to be thinking about it, but I mean, there's only just so much that you can do, and so to be able to have an outlet that's completely separate from that, just to be able to pour everything into, it really kind of helps from what I've seen, and I feel like Doublelift is probably that kind of person, so this might actually be kind of therapeutic for him, just to be able to, 100% of his attention and focus on this. So I think that's probably why he's playing, would be my guess. Yeah. And so his mentality is actually probably going to be fantastic. Like, it's probably going to be better than, like, I mean, he's always been a great competitor. And so just, like, being completely sharpened and just, yeah.
Yeah, I really hope he does perform well, and I think exactly like you said. Of course, we can't get into his head, but it's one of those things where I really feel like when you're dealing with something like this in life where there's no answer, there's no steps that you can take to make everything better, when you can actually put your focus into something where there is an end goal, there is steps to make it better, it's something that's kind of like it's a bubble of a situation. You're like, this is League of Legends, I know this, I know the steps to take to improve and win the game, and that's all I need to focus on. There's no crazy things going on. It's just, I know this, I know League of Legends, I know how to play it. There's an end goal, there's a task, complete the task, that's your only job. And I feel like it's so much easier to have that as in your mind rather than like there's this insurmountable thing that I have to deal with. It's just like, no, I know how to do this. There's an end to it. There's a path. I see the path. Just walk the path.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I think like you said, it might even be therapeutic for him. I think that hopefully he'll perform well. My heart's out to him. I think it's one of those things where it would be worse not to play. And like I said, we can't get inside his head. But I think it's one of those things where you keep doing what you would regularly do, and don't. Just keep going. Just keep putting one foot in front of the other, and that's the best way to get through anything. Is just keep going one step at a time, and that's what he's doing right now. So props to him.
And I'm sure too, like especially with the all the money that's being spent on the support structure, and obviously, like even if something like this would happen with a different team, I'm sure they would find money. But like I'm sure he's talking with professionals, and I mean like. And this just kind of in general, like his blatant statement. Like I know there's been a lot of work done lately to like try and destigmatize like just going to a therapist. Like I mean, dude, go talk about your feelings, and it's something that everyone should be able to do. So there are people out there that will talk and listen to you, and so that's what he's doing. I hope.
Yeah, hard situation, but it's nice to have things that. People all kind of communally can care about and gather around, and we can all rally around with League of Legends and just be like, hey man, we all care about you. We all care about League of Legends. Let's all do the thing that we love to do and try and remain positive about life.
Yep. So, well, on that note, thank you everybody. It was a good show. Got a little heavy there at the end, but. I mean, it's it's a topic to be talked about,
and
especially
life.
Like
you don't get to decide when things happen. They just happen.
They do. So, but yeah, all right. Go make your predictions, and if you want to play in a newbie tournament with Coach Streetball here, go to leaguecoaching.gg. And pick the tournaments tab, and you can sign up for that. You've got until Sunday night at midnight. There's a North American session for a Saturday and Sunday, and there's actually I just added a European session. It's going to happen on Saturday at 3 p.m. Berlin time. So I think it's like Central European Summer Time. So if you guys want to check that out, you'll have a lot of fun, learn a lot, and get to have a fun little best of 3 with your coach telling you what you've done wrong and how to get better. So on that note then, take care everyone.
Thanks guys.